call for common sense to prevail. PM flags reserved seats for women in next election. And Unitech for research and innovation.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening, this is Tuesday's news. Thanks for your company. Member for Sinasina Yongamul, Karangakua, has urged Eastern Highlands election petitioners to put aside their differences to ensure that there is stability within the Eastern Highlands province. Mr. Kua was speaking in Goroka after the National Court dismissed an election petition against Eastern Highlands Governor Peter Numu. Mr. Kua said while candidates have the right of appeal, they must consider the collective rights of the people who seek political stability.
In Goroka yesterday, a crowd gathered to hear the result of an election petition against Eastern Highlands Governor Peter Numu. The National Court dismissed the case filed by petitioner and Goroka businessman Simon Sia. Like all election petitions, there was some uncertainty over Peter Numu's political future. But this week, the court put those doubts to rest.
So on them grounds, I'll give him Karamigolo Kote, it's already cleared. Judge them fully address each witnesses with the evidence.
On the political front, Eastern Highlands and Moresby are important provinces for any coalition seeking to form a new government. There are 10 MPs in Moresby, including the governor's seat, and 9 MPs in the Eastern Highlands. In 2017, they were the focus of all major political parties looking to form government. Stability for many provinces like the Eastern Highlands equates to the ability of the government to roll out development programs with certainty of office.
Shublo provincial administrator and solve this. Now I'm executive government, but I'm this provincial government.
Line block petitioner, line block governor, you walk one team, you
A Simbu MP who's been following the election petition closely has urged Eastern Highlanders to put aside their differences, even though the court allows for another appeal within 14 days.
Papua New Guinea must stand up united.
He got right blow appeal stop, but me also want leader blow neighboring province. Me tintin also petitioner now team blame all need law sit down na look what's more important, private rights blow or public rights blow, people blow, Eastern Highlands.
Neighbouring Simbu province is also facing a similar challenge. The court has ordered a recount of the Simbu governor's seat until the results are clear. The political landscape continues to remain uncertain in the Simbu province as well. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Goroka.
For 2 decades, roads in the Eastern Highlands have seen a steady decline in their upkeep. In the Ungai district, many of the roads have deteriorated to a point where many of the younger generation have grown up not seeing a vehicle drive past their villages. The Eastern Highlands provincial government is now trying to rehabilitate many of the roads that existed previously, but it is a slow, hard work.
This is what roads are like in many districts in the Eastern Highlands. Some, like this road in Ungai, haven't seen maintenance in many years due to funding and a general state of neglect.
Mama ila karim beginning baby. Me place ya lusim lo here lo 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. Me place ya walk about lo here lo go down lo Goroka.
This road is not far from Goroka town, and there are several communities that live here. The provincial government is slowly rehabilitating this road, which will provide an alternative route to Simbu province. There's a lot that the villagers here can offer. The land is fertile, and the cows and pumpkins are bigger than the average crop, and the cabbages are heavier. But until last year, this part of the province was cut off from the rest. The political infighting also meant that many rural districts suffered.
The
Teachers and other government workers have struggled to provide services in these parts, and their struggles continue.
Teachers can resume duty to and plus start late due to road conditions as well.
The road construction is slow and difficult work, and it will take at least 2 years before vehicles can access this road with ease. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Goroka.
Energy Minister Sam Basil has announced that the department wants to engage the PNG University of Technology for research and innovation regarding energy in the country. Acting Vice-Chancellor Dr. Ora Ranagi welcomed the announcement, saying students need hands-on training to prepare them for the industry. Basil made this announcement after a presentation on coal energy at the university yesterday.
The Rose Kekedo Lecture Theatre was packed with students and lecturers to hear what the Minister responsible for energy, Sam Basil, had to say about the much-debated topic of coal energy. Mr. Basil said the department promotes the policy of having energy mixes to generate power, and coal is an option.
And I believe that we've talked about many issues, and the disconnection that we currently have is that it made a lot of people think differently on how we present ourselves at the national level in terms of talking about energy. And
the option of coal, however, has been a much debated topic. Whilst coal is a non-renewable energy source compared to solar, wind and hydro, Basil says it's a cleaner option than the diesel-generated power plant. Because of much talk regarding energy mixes, the department wants to engage the university in research and innovation in the field of energy, saying the institution has not been utilized.
Our department should be working closely with the electrical engineering department to look at innovative ways of and ideas of investing into little hydros and little ways of generating powers for our off-grid consumers in the rural village of
Unitech's acting Vice-Chancellor Dr. Ora Ranagi welcomed the announcement, saying students in the relevant fields need hands-on training and development that is relevant in today's energy industry.
We want to train innovative entrepreneurial graduates, and they will only be becoming that type of students when they do a hands-on experience projects and see the product of their work, and then they will start to be thinking innovatively and becoming
Lucy
good.
Kopana, National MTV News, Lee.
Women in the country will now have some seats in Parliament reserved for them in the next national elections. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill made this announcement when giving his keynote address at the National Women's Day celebration yesterday. He said discussions and surveys are still underway to have at least 4 women representatives of each region in Parliament by 2022.
Speaking at the National Women's Day yesterday, the Prime Minister said this call is to ensure women have an equal say on the development of the country. He said women from the 4 regions will be appointed by the Electoral Commission to represent each region. And for them to be appointed, they must be a candidate in the national election and must perform well in the election.
When we go to the elections, in the regional races, we select 4 of the best performing candidates of women if there is no woman being elected to power. And that means that at best minimum we will have 4 ladies who represent the 4 regions in our country by 2022.
Prime Minister O'Neill added that this is a good call because it will have balance in leadership at the national level. He said women have been participating in leadership roles at the districts and provincial level, and they must have a fair say also at the national level.
When you look at some of the smaller Pacific Island countries, you look at some of the women participation in those powers. They have made special provisions to ensure that this happens in their parliament. Why is it so difficult in Papua New Guinea?
Department of Justice and Attorney General Secretary Dr. Eric Kwa, in supporting the Prime Minister, said a constitutional amendment was passed in 2011 to create 22 seats for women. He explained that due to recent changes in the Constitution, discussions are still underway to determine the number of seats to be reserved for women.
That report might tell us whether it's 4, 5, 10 or 22. Because it will be based on people's views, it will be based on research, it will be based on professional advice.
Meanwhile, teams from the Constitution and Law Reform Commission are traveling around the country to conduct survey on this issue and to collect views from the people. Secretary Kwa said women will have representatives in Parliament once all reports from the Constitution and Law Reform Commission are presented and approved by Parliament. Rayon Lakingu, National EMTV News.
For the capital of South Bougainville in the autonomous region of Bougainville, a gradual demand for short-term accommodation has created opportunities for businesses in the tourism and hospitality industry. Among the businesses that have evolved to meet this demand is Bowen Inn, a family-run operation. Its owner, Albert Nukuitu, is optimistic of further positive growth in the near future.
In recent years, business activities have slowly picked up in Buin, South Bougainville, with more and more people travelling to this part of the island region. This has also provided opportunities for hospitality providers, one of which is Buin Inn, a family-run operation headed by Albert Nukuitu and his wife Denise. Speaking to MTV News recently, Mr. Nukuitu explained the gradual growth in visitor numbers, which have underpinned the expansion of their business.
They stop coming is during the peak period. Maybe we provide opportunities for people who want to come and have holidays here. We would even see them coming through the Christmas New Year period. Yeah.
The Buin of today is very different to that of previous years, which was a town known for as an outlaw town and understandably a difficult place to do business. With Buin slowly opening up to the rest of Bougainville and Papua New Guinea, this has seen a change in the local business environment.
It takes commitment, and you have to develop some kind of a thick skin in order for you to get into business in such an environment. The inherent risk that we face in doing business is the same everywhere. But I think here people see risk from a different perspective because of the conflict we had. We've managed, and all you need to do is build a good relationship with people who are around.
But despite increasing business activities, one main hindrance still remains: a lack of access to insurance. Most operators here, Buin Inn included, have had to risk their finances to develop their businesses without access to insurance services.
The risk is even more when you don't have insurance. So when you are investing big money, maybe your lifetime savings in such an environment, it's like gambling. It's a big gamble that we are taking. But for us to invest, because we invested between 3 to 4 million kina in the establishment here, it's like we look at trying to build investor confidence, and confidence for people who are coming this way from outside.
Like most other parts of Bougainville, future business plans hinge on the result of the upcoming political referendum scheduled to begin on October the 12th this year. For Mr. Nukuitu, with the referendum approaching, businesses are also preparing for the outcome, whatever it may be, adding that Buin Inn remains committed to providing the best service for his guests.
Depending on what the outcome is, I'll see an increase in opportunities in the next 5 years, and especially with the shifting of the focus. I mean, previously most of the things is government activities, most of the activities to be centered in Buka and Arawa. Recently, in the last, as I said, 2, 3, 4 years, we've seen the focus shift in this way, and now activities are being centered around the 3 main centers, Buka, Arawa and Buin. If we happen to maintain the momentum as we're going, I think we see a lot of opportunities in business coming up, not just in Buin, but in South Bougainville, in Central Bougainville, in North Bougainville.
You're at National EMTV News. Among stories after the break, killings in Port Moresby and Lae, and a man continues the search for his wife and son. Details coming up after the break. Welcome back. 4 killings have been reported over the weekend, but Port Moresby police are yet to make arrests on suspected individuals. The first incident involved the murder of 3 young men at Gordon's police barracks last Saturday, while the other, the shooting of a 22-year-old student at Garahu Stage 7.
The first killings were a result of a traffic accident where a vehicle crashed into the fence at Gordon's police barracks and killed 2 people instantly. The other 2 were rushed to the Port Moresby General Hospital, but 1 died, leaving only 1 survivor. It is understood the driver of the vehicle involved in the accident was badly beaten by relatives of the victims and is in a critical condition. For the incident at Garahu, the community members said they have seen the same group of police officers patrolling their community for over 4 weeks now. The deceased has been identified as 22-year-old David Pueng.
This is not the first time this has happened. Maybe 2 or 1 week before that, they were coming in and saying all sorts of words to the community that they will telling the community to be careful with ourselves. They even said to put up a house cry. So really the intention was unknown.
There were reports of harassment, swearing and threats issued by the policeman accused now of killing the 22-year-old.
This is something has been come up. It's almost a month now. It's an ongoing thing where this same old policeman he been making from me place stuff. Even me market stuff, they will just come, stop that all, make him kind. We pull him all, picking in man come, question him all.
At this stage, it is not clear on why Pueng was shot and killed, but it is understood Pueng was returning home after buying a biscuit from the nearby trade store. But the police say on the night of March 24th, they were responding to gunshots fired by community members towards police officers on patrol, and the increase in petty crimes reported in that community.
On Friday evening, we had a shootout with police. We also had another one on Saturday, shootout with police, with the same group of the gang. Eventually led to Operation Launch on Sunday. And during that operation, there was also shooting, which resulted in one of those killed.
This is one of the many reported murders where police officers were accused of killing civilians with the unlawful use of firearms.
When the incident happened, they opened fire, which normally during current duties of the police force, they usually open fire in the air. Yesterday was a tragic event which they've opened fire straight towards the civilians.
And while the relatives of the 4 deceased are now mourning their loss, no arrests have yet been made on both incidents. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
A man was arrested and charged in Leh last week for the alleged sexual abuse of his 14-year-old stepdaughter and murder of his wife. The wife's body was found at the tidal basin last week Sunday and was identified by the daughter. Leh Police Sexual Offence Squad later found out that the suspect sexually abused a 14-year-old girl twice.
According to police reports, a missing persons report was made to the police last week using the toll-free number. This was after the suspect reported to community leaders that his wife went missing earlier that day. The community conducted a search but did not find her. The wife's relatives suspected that the husband was involved in a disappearance and reported this to the 3 Mile police. He was detained at the Lae Central Police Station for police to conduct investigations and also for his safety.
Offences taking place here in the city is mainly done by known persons, people who know each other, either their relatives or their close friends or they live in the same community.
The wife's body was later found at the tidal basin last week Sunday and was identified by the woman's 14-year-old daughter. The sexual offense squad conducted investigations and also found that the 14-year-old was sexually abused by a stepfather twice last month. She told police that the suspect tried to poison her mother's food 4 times. The 14-year-old victim is one of the prime witnesses in the events leading to her mother's death. Lae Metropolitan Superintendent Anthony Wagambi Jr. is also calling on other witnesses to come forward to assist police in the investigation. The suspect appeared before the Lae District Court for mention last week Friday. 2 weeks ago, a school principal of a private-run school located at Papuan Compound here in Lae was arrested and charged for alleged sexual penetration on a 10-year-old girl. According to Lae's Sexual Offense Squad, sexual abuse cases, especially on minors, have increased since 2017. Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Lae.
A man who has been searching for his 32-year-old wife and 7-year-old son for 2 weeks appealed to the members of the public to help him locate his family. Gayas Wawoyaka, a civil court clerk at the Lae District Court in Lae, told EMTV News that his family went missing from their family home at 4 Mile in Lae on the 14th of this month. He has reported the matter to the police since then and is still searching for his family.
The 35-year-old husband and father said his wife Jennifer Gayes went missing from their home at 4 Mile in Lae, along with the 7-year-old son Stanford. Mr. Wawoyaka told EMTV News that he gave his bank card to his wife and told her to do shopping for the house before he left for work that day. When he went back home that afternoon, he couldn't find his wife and son.
Me walk look house. Na me place I solve mons like an heavy problem mons like an line. So me at me I play along this place so me I look out him all family belong me good. Na this play time me no got one idea totally and me blackout along this play. Why I mean go out on this play me no got one idea.
Wawoyaka said he checked everywhere in Lae for the whereabouts, but he couldn't find them. According to Mr. Wawoyaka, his wife ran away to Port Moresby in 2015 without his consent. He brought his wife back to Lae after he located her. Wawoyaka filed a missing person report last week at Lae's Family and Sexual Violence Unit, and investigations have begun.
Me no been chorus one day, me no not one time me bite me chorus, no nothing. Nothing.
He said he has been trying to contact his family but couldn't reach them since they left.
Now me like talk about him now. Please. Mary Blomi mix have. Money can pick up. Money can pick up. Na me have also now I'm still again. So when me like talk him, please. You said brata. You only ma'am. Please I'm in a cack of player. You says is it actually release ma'am? How you can pick him ma'am? One day mama picking in just come drop him along area where you can drop him pick up long area. That's what I want.
He has appealed to the members of the public to call him on these mobile numbers if they know their whereabouts. Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Lae.
Stories making headlines overseas when we come back. Don't go away. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, the bodies of some of those killed in the Christchurch terrorist attack have started arriving back in their home countries. And it comes as they are paying entitlements such as funeral grants to the families of all 51 victims and survivors.
Repatriated to his homeland, mourners in Karachi praying over the body of terrorist attack victim Syed Arib Ahmed. 9 Pakistani men were killed on March 15th. Arib, as he was known to friends, was among them. He had no family in New Zealand.
People talk a lot about his great sense of humour. He was extremely dedicated and really wanted to learn. In the time with us, he was a really valued member of the team.
His family back home relied on his income, so his workplace, PwC, has set up a fundraising page to help them.
We're really keen to ensure that he has, or the family has the support and to help them through this terrible, tragedy.
The Pakistani Association helped with the repatriation of Arib's body, but they're also vowing to continue to provide moral support to the families and to the one Pakistani injured survivor for as long as needed.
To bring them into the community so they can socialize with other people and they don't feel loneliness and they don't feel isolated.
The fundraising page for Arib is one of dozens set up for victims of the terrorist attack. The Pakistani Association has set one up of its own, and the main Give a Little page for victim support has so far reached nearly $9 million. Counselling groups say workplaces will be dealing with the ripples of emotion caused by the attacks in a variety of ways, including fundraising.
It can be a way of feeling they can contribute, a way of feeling they can support people, so it can be positive.
Some of those left behind are new to New Zealand and don't know some of the basics of Kiwi life.
Like how to open a bank account, if you want to go for driving, trying to bring them into the mainstream community.
A community determined to help not just their own, but all those affected.
Boosted by what's being labelled his best day in the White House, the US president is on the attack. Donald Trump, freshly cleared of colluding with Russia, is vowing revenge on his accusers.
President Trump striding back into the White House, having finally shaken the dark shadow of collusion.
I just want to tell you that America is the greatest place on earth.
But it's not closure he wants, it's retribution.
There are a lot of people out there that have done some very, very evil things, very bad things, I would say treasonous things against our country.
Casting the Mueller investigation as a failed coup, the president now threatening his opponents.
And I've been looking at them for a long time, and I'm saying, why haven't they been looked at? They lied to Congress. Many of them, you know who they are. They've done so many evil things.
This has been a defining 24 hours for the Trump presidency, vindicated of colluding with Russia by the special counsel Robert Mueller, then cleared by the Attorney General on the question of whether he obstructed justice.
I will tell you, I love this country. I love this country as much as I can love anything. My family, my country, my God. But what they did, it was a false narrative.
The White House victorious.
Sarah Sanders, White House press secretary. I gotta go get one. We're colluding.
And immediately recasting this story with the president as the victim, unfairly attacked by reckless Democrats and the media.
We're doing great things in that building behind you, and you refused to cover it because you had to cover collusion, you had to cover conspiracy, and you had to cover the Russians, you had to cover treason, you had to cover impeachment.
And with the specter of impeachment having all but disappeared, Democrats are demanding access to Mueller's full report and all of the evidence.
We cannot simply rely on what may be a hasty, partisan interpretation of the facts.
The big question for them is whether there's a public appetite for pursuing this fight.
And I'd like to see the government move on now and focus on making the country a better place.
I wanted this to be the nail in the coffin for Donald Trump. I think we got to vote him out at this point.
Surrounding himself with winners tonight, the president will be savoring his own victory.
2 sisters from Saudi Arabia who fled their families fearing punishment have been granted humanitarian visas in another country. The pair spent the last 6 months in hiding in Hong Kong and now have their first taste of freedom.
sisters from Saudi Arabia won't reveal their real names or show their faces in fear of retribution from their family. But after 6 months fearing for their safety, Reem and Rawan have been granted a humanitarian visa in another country.
I want to settle down and to feel safe, and that I know that I have right and I matter in that country.
The sisters fled a family holiday in Sri Lanka last September. They accused their father and brothers of physical abuse and being treated like slaves. It was an escape they'd planned for 2 years. But when they arrived in Hong Kong en route to Australia, they say they were stopped by consular officials at the airport and their passports were revoked. Last week they secretly flew to a safe country and say they have no regrets.
Don't just stick to the wall and cry, because if you will cry it will be worse. Just face it and fight as you can. Fight in your own way and you will find your own light.
The name of the third country where the girls are now and where they may eventually settle can't be made public. Their lawyer says if it was disclosed, the sisters face the risk of being found by their family and deported back to Saudi Arabia. Human rights groups say that could mean prison or even death.
If the girls are forcibly returned, then they will face criminal charges for A, breaking the male guardianship law because they didn't obtain a permission to travel, and the other one would be apostasy for renouncing Islam faith, which is a crime in Saudi Arabia that can carry the death sentence.
This is not the first time a woman from Saudi Arabia has risked criminal charges to escape. In January, Rahaf Al-Kunan was detained by Thai authorities while transiting through Bangkok Airport en route to Australia. She used social media to campaign for freedom. She was eventually escorted to Australia but was granted asylum in Canada. Reem and Rawan say they too hope to start a new life.
Technology giant Apple is taking a big bite out of online streaming mogul Netflix. Its new TV platform is the spearhead of a new offensive as smartphone sales decline, and it's deployed celebrity big guns to sell it.
Want me to help you find your opening? Like the Big Bang, it explodes.
Some of Hollywood's biggest names came out for Apple today.
This is so exciting.
This evening, the $900 billion company announced a raft of new services in news, credit cards and games. But the biggest draw was a beefed-up TV product called Apple TV+. It will launch in over 100 countries later this year.
Unlike anything that's been done before,
Apple is making a bold play in the new attention economy. A war for our ears, eyes and minds is raging, and it's dominated by companies based on the west coast of America.
If you're watching this, then I'm not around anymore. But don't spiral, don't obsess, keep going.
Netflix has said it won't put any of its shows on the Apple service. By the same token, US giant Disney, which last week completed its purchase of Rupert Murdoch's entertainment assets, has pulled out of Netflix and is launching another streaming service next month.
And I want to give you an opportunity to be able to express your feelings.
The brains behind one of Netflix's biggest shows this year says there's never been a better time to be a producer.
I think the thing that has really changed with the advent of the streaming service and the algorithms that sit behind them is that whereas the linear broadcasters tend to have to operate and make programs for a very niche demographic, the streaming services can work out exactly what audience the program will fit for once the program has been delivered.
Stay up with us. A great wave of consolidation is sweeping across the media landscape as the creators of content are getting together with the distributors, those who own the pipes. Rather than buy a content company outright, Apple are big enough and brave enough to have a go at content themselves. For punters, that's great. But for traditional broadcasters, the fact that even Rupert Murdoch thinks he's too small to compete with Silicon Valley isn't just ominous, it's terrifying. With signs its iPhone business has slowed down and maybe even peaked, Apple is expanding its horizons beyond hardware to Hollywood.
You're at National EMTV News. Up next, we'll take a look at some sporting updates in Chukai Sports.
Tukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Papua New Guinea has the opportunity to take part in the Oceania Under-18 Rugby Union Sevens competition in November this year. But with no real effective junior competitions throughout the country, it is hoped that this opportunity will ensure junior development in the sport picks up this year.
Not as popular as Rugby League, Rugby Union globally hosts regional and overseas tournaments sanctioned by World Rugby. The most common format associated with the code is the Sevens. For Papua New Guinea, the senior men's and women's national teams have participated in international tournaments. But for the juniors, PNG now has the chance to showcase that talent in the Oceania Under-18 Sevens Championships to be held in Fiji in November. Capital Rugby Union competition manager Paul Joseph made the announcement during the Sports Talk Sevens launching.
At the PNG Rugby Union level, we have an Under-18 Sevens tournament happening in Fiji, which is the Oceania region, for boys and girls. And then when PNG Rugby comes through with the program to host a championship for these divisions, our players will be already ready.
The eligibility is simple. You have to be talented in the game but turning 18 this year to be part of the team. And for those under 18, parental consent is mandatory.
Who are eligible for selection for the November trip, they have to be turning 18 this year. They have to be turning 18 from the 1st January and 31st of December. Players as young as 16 will need to have a parental consent.
The harsh reality for Papua New Guinea Rugby Union is that there is no effective nationwide junior competition in the sport, and players in that age group are forced to play with others above their age.
At CRU, we don't have an under-18 division, we have under-19s, and most of these under-18s don't really get to play their game because they end up playing against players that are much older than them. In the other unions, you got under-18s playing in A grade.
The Sports Talk Easter Sevens will for the first time have an under-18 division to start the talent identification process in preparation for the November Fiji tournament. The under-18s won't be playing for prize money, but to have a chance to play in their age group and realize their full potential in the sport of sevens.
For the under-18s, because at their age we don't want to be promoting that they play for cash prize, so they will be playing for trophies and again for them to showcase their talent. At their age we don't want them to be playing for money.
Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV Sports.
PNG national women's rugby team ICTSI Palais held a selection trial today to identify a final squad to this year's Hong Kong Sevens. The tournament will be held next month and coach Paul Tidgens is confident PNG will take its best teams to the Hong Kong Sevens.
Tidgens says the format of training and selection trials is based on the actual competition that will be played in Hong Kong.
Yeah, obviously we had a three game process today where we were simulating the Hong Kong tournament next week. And we needed to basically replicate the tournament that we're going to have on day one in Hong Kong, because we haven't had a lot of game time since Sydney, which was in early February. And to play sevens, you got to be training it and you got to be playing it. So we replicated day one of Hong Kong, which was really important, and got 3 40-minute games out of that, which were very physical and very competitive. And I feel as though that they've given me enough and given me enough selection ammunition to pick a good side to take away.
He says as disappointing it is to see players get injured during the trials is not a good sign, but with so many great players on board, it is up to the players to perform and impress the selection committee.
Seeing any player go down is disappointing and really concerning for their welfare, and to see obviously Kimi Rapele, our captain, go down earlier, she took a bit of a knock on her neck, but she'll be okay, just bruising. But obviously Bibiana Paloa to go down as well with the knee injury she's been suffering lately is disappointing, and obviously that takes I guess a little bit of our depth away and limits the selections that we can make, but in saying that, I'm confident that these other players can step up and do the job when we select the team to go on next week.
PNG's participation at the Hong Kong Sevens is a prerequisite to the World Seven Series.
Yeah, for us, I mean, it's extremely tough now, the Sevens. A lot of teams are centralised and on full-time programs. These athletes are on full-time contracts, some of these Tier 2, Tier 3 nations, and it's going to be extremely tough. I mean, last year I know Papua New Guinea went there and lost to China, who were the eventual winners, who are now full-time on the circuit. So it just goes to show that these girls are thereabouts, and with Sevens anything can happen on any given day. So it's on the day, and it's about putting some consistent performances together.
The selection trials will continue tomorrow with the final squad to travel to Hong Kong this weekend. Godwin Eki, National MTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues with more after the break. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Looks like Auckland Schoolboy Rugby's off-field issues have now been resolved. An agreement has been signed today by all schools in the top division of the First 15 Rugby, placing a virtual ban on recruiting from other First 15s. Threats of a boycott against High Flyers St. Kentigern have also ended.
If you wanted some perspective on an unruly period in First 15 rugby, here's a former Auckland Grammar schoolboy star.
You know, you're just there to enjoy it with your friends, you know, you're still in school.
St Kentigern College in Auckland's East has been seen as the recruiting and poaching villain. Their former First 15 captain is the Blues' new All Black Dalton Papali'i. Papali'i was spotted in his early teens in Pakuranga and offered a scholarship.
If you hadn't have got your scholarship, would you have gone to St Kent's? No. So it's given you a massive opportunity.
Given me all of this. I owe that school, everything, because I wouldn't be here.
The new rules are agreed to by St Kitts and others just this morning. As well as sticking to college sport bylaws, they also agreed on these key points. No recruiting of students from another school's First 15. No offering of scholarships for students from another school's First 15. Stand downs still apply to players who previously transferred from other schools. They'll miss the first 6 rounds and playoff matches in this year's 1A competition. College Sport Auckland and the schools wouldn't comment further today. Herschel Fruin monitors First 15 rugby across the country. He says poaching has always gone on. He doesn't agree with the new stand-down rule.
What you're going to do is that you're going to put a bad sour taste in their mouths and in their feelings. They're the ones that are going to get hit, not St Kentigern's. These kids are sitting out.
On the flip side of the whole recruiting debate is a player like Blues revelation, the flame-haired Tom Robinson. He stayed put at Kitty High in Northland, rather than heading to the big smoke.
No poaching up that way?
No, just poaching of illegal power and undersized fish, that's all, mate. Wherever you go or whatever your background, if you really want to do it, doesn't matter where you are, you'll make it.
Sage words with the new schoolboys season 4 weeks away. It appears it's time for the adults to stop squabbling and for the kids to play.
The spirit of cricket is again in the spotlight after a controversial run-out in the Indian Premier League involving the Mike Hassan-coached Kings 11 Punjab. The dismissal of Rajasthan and England batsman Josh Buttler has ignited widespread debate again in the sport.
The beginning of one of the biggest dramas in the IPL.
I think Josh Buttler was backing up too far and Ashwin has run him out at the non-striker's end.
Rajasthan's Josh Buttler given out by the third umpire after being man-catted by Kings 11 captain Ravi Ashwin.
I'm not a fan of this. I have to say I'm not a fan.
Neither was Buttler, the Englishman cruising on 69 off 43 when sent back to the pavilion. His team 108 for 1 and needing 77 off 43 to win.
It has to be out and I see nothing wrong with doing that. But the question is, does he almost wait for him to go out of the crease?
On my part it was very instinctive and it was not planned or anything like that. It is there within the rules of the game.
Let's paraphrase the laws into this situation. Firstly, at the moment, Ashwin would be expected to release the ball. Butler is still in his crease. And secondly, he appears not to be stealing a run. For those reasons, most think he shouldn't have been out.
Oh yeah, I find that very, very disappointing in the game of cricket.
And many current and former players aren't on Ashwin's side either. The debate seemingly in Butler's favour. Caught up in the middle of it, former Black Caps coach Mike Hesson, a long-time advocate of the spirit of cricket, often lauded for changing the way New Zealand play.
Well, Mike Hesson, the coach, very, very well, and I'm not sure it'll sit that comfortably with him either.
No matter what opinion anyone takes, it seems it had a big effect on the result. The Royals crumbling from their position of strength to lose 9 for 56 and fall short by 14 runs.
I think R. Ashwin's actions tonight speak for him and represent him. When I looked in the eyes of his teammates, I'm not sure if it represented his teammates.
Butler and Ashwin shaking hands at game's end, a game igniting a debate that's long bugged cricket.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details for the next 24 hours when we return.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A quick look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. A shower or two in Port Moresby, cloudy weather in Daru and Kerama, mostly fine in Alatau and fine weather in Popondetta. In the Mamasa region, mostly fine in Lae, Midang, Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine weather in Lorengau, showers in Kavieng, Kokoporabao and Kimbe, and a shower or two in Buka. And in the Highlands region, mostly fine weather right across the region in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabag.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for today, Tuesday, the 26th of March 2019. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.